question for you here in the studio audience. Raise your hand if you've ever told a lie. All right, now, raise your hand if you didn't know you were lying when you did it. Sounds impossible, right? Well, my first guess says that's what happened to him. Today, for the first time, he's going to tell his side of the story after he was accused of lying to the nation on a reality show.
A Minnesota National Guardsman who appeared on a reality TV show is saying he is sorry for embellishing some stories when auditioning for the show America's Got Talent. Army Sergeant Timothy Poe said he was injured in a 2009 grenade attack in Afghanistan.
I had told the judges that it messed up my brain, caused me to have problems with my speech and memory. I started stuttering after the accident.
When he came on stage, he talked to me. He honestly didn't stutter 1 second. I thought it was just he was so caught up in the emotions that he just didn't stutter, but I think he was so caught up in the moment that he forgot to stutter.
One thing Poe won't apologize for is lying.
Well, Tim wrote in to our show asking for my help in order to clear his name. He says he is not a con man. He is merely confused because of a brain injury. Now, however, as my producers started researching his story, they just said, look, things just don't make common sense. Is he the victim of a lost memory, or is he victimizing others with his lies? Does he have a stutter, or is it all an act? First, listen to what he told our producers as we were preparing the show.
Dreams may come. When I went on America's Got Talent, I had all my military paperwork, and it says that I was hit by a grenade and I received a traumatic brain injury. But none of the people that criticized me saw my paperwork. They told all the people in my unit that I left for an ear infection. I don't have any medical paperwork that says ear infection. I told the judges that I didn't think I could sing. I did previously sing for karaoke and a band, but at that time I didn't remember. Before Afghanistan 2009, I never had any problems of knowing what was real and what wasn't. I truly believed that I went to Iraq. Apparently I got injured and broke my back in training before we even got sent. I believed that these things happened to me so much that I had put tattoos on where I got hit in Iraq. And now I have these forever, and I can't, and I don't know why is it that I believe something so wholeheartedly, and people who don't even know me or have never served with me are calling me this big liar. I'm a soldier. I did my duty to the best of my ability. And I need help.
Okay, well, Tim is here with his wife, Carrie. I'm going to ask some questions you may not have been asked before, and you can help if you have some of the details here, because although I don't have a real job now, but when I did, I was in private practice, and one area of concentration I had was I treated people with closed head injuries, brain and central nervous system, both in my private practice and in the hospital. I don't prejudge people. I just gather facts and then let the cards fall where they will. So I'm going to ask you some questions and try to drill down on all this. So when this grenade went off, as you recall, I assume that the medics came and they evacuated you from the area to some type of treatment center somewhere, some triage center?
I was brought to the troop medical clinic in Kandahar.
And so were you the only one injured?
As far as I remember, yes, that's.
Yeah. Does that strike you as odd that a grenade goes off and you're running to protect others, but you were the only one that was impacted?
Yes.
Does that seem inconsistent to you?
It does. It does.
Tim and I got married on June 23rd, 2012. Tim has been married 3 times. He has admitted to cheating in his past. Tim's always been honest with me. I believe that Tim is telling the absolute truth when he says he has a brain injury.
But my next guest says she's seen Tim pretend to stutter in a karaoke bar years before he ever left for Afghanistan. Take a look.
Tim has been lying since day one. He just lies. I don't think it has anything to do with the brain injury because I knew him in 2005. While Tim and I were dating, we'd all go out to karaoke bars, and Tim would act like he was mentally disabled. He had the limp already. He would just intensify it, and then if he took a drink of beer, he would let it come out of his mouth a little bit. He'd stutter. When I saw Tim on America's Got Talent, it really made me mad because it's the same act that he had put on, only it was more intensified on TV. Tim told everybody that he had a traumatic brain injury, a TBI, and it's on military medical records. The doctor writes down exactly what you say. If you say, I jumped on one of my guys saving him when a grenade went off, that's what they have to write. They want to know exactly what you're saying so that they can verify the story because you get paid for that. We had friends that got blown up, friends that have PTSD so bad they can't even handle it, and it's a direct slap in the face. Tim has been lying for so long now that he probably doesn't know right from wrong or what's true, what's not.
Do you recall what she's describing? She said she saw you karaoke, that you had kind of a gag you would do. You would act like you were mentally impaired. You would kind of drool. You would stutter, and then you would get up and sing.
I don't remember any of that. No.
Okay. You're telling me that you don't remember from 2005 repeated visits to karaoke bars with a group of people.
I remember the karaoke bars. I do remember that, but not stuttering or any of that stuff.
So do you believe she's just lying? I mean, would you ask me to believe that she's just lying, that she's got some axe to grind against you?
I don't know. I don't understand.
Why would she say? I mean, you dated this woman for a time, right?
No, we didn't really date.
You got matching tattoos.
Yeah, that was for our kids.
Did y'all date
Yes, we did.
for 5 or 6 months?
Yeah. till I found him.
And you broke up, why?
Because his wife called.
Now, in another effort to help Tim figure out the truth, we asked if he had any military friends who might be able to help confirm the grenade explosion and support Tim. Tim said no. However, we did some research, and we did manage to find a member of Tim's unit. His name is Specialist Justin Doerfler. He says he was in Afghanistan with Tim, and he's joining us on Polycom. Justin, thanks for joining us. Do you remember Justin, by the way?
I don't recognize. He's mustache and got a mustache now.
All right. Well, Justin, you remember Tim?
I do, yes.
Okay. And do you remember Tim being in Afghanistan?
Yes. We served together in the 114th Transportation Company. The deployment was 2009, 2010. During our training at Camp Edbury, Indiana. That's where I really started to obviously meet Cole a lot more. We started talking. I had been a DJ. He told me about being in the band. We talked a little bit back and forth there throughout the time at Atterbury, and then from there moving on over into theater of operations. And that's when he ended up coming back to the States.
Okay, so you were with him in Afghanistan.
Correct.
Was there a grenade explosion?
No, as a matter of fact, when we were in Camp Atterbury, Indiana, during one of our QRF training missions, it was, we had a lot of simulation rounds that were going off. We were firing live rounds downrange. At the berm that we were at, there's a certain distance. They have a safe buffer zone. The closest he could have been probably would have been 25 meters from a simulation. After that, that's the closest thing I could ever come to. He had complained about his eardrum hurting. After that, got into over into country, and during the flight, apparently there had been some fluid coming out of his ears, so he was going to stay there to be checked out. Well, from there, a lot of our units started going to, the area of operation where we were going to be serving out our deployment. He stayed in Kandahar, and from there was brought to Germany to be inspected.
Okay, and when I asked you about, you seem very agitated that I suggested you had an ear problem. But apparently he knew about your ear problem, the unit knew about your ear problem. The unit was told you went to Germany because of an ear problem. You told her you had an ear problem. It seemed like everybody but you knew you had an ear problem.
I don't understand. I remember a grenade or a blast going off next to me.
There weren't blasts going off where you were.
And the crazy thing is I have never, ever, ever seen or heard you stutter before. Now, you can understand why everybody would get extremely upset. Especially veterans that have gone through, actual combat. It's going to be very, very upsetting to all of them.
In order to help Tim figure out the truth, we've offered to administer a polygraph test to Tim, but he declined. Why did you decline?
Because now it seems like things that I said are not true, and I just.
So you just admit they're not true. There's no point in taking that. You just say you don't know why you're saying things that aren't true.
Right.
And that's honest.
I don't.
I mean, I get that. And if that's the case, if you admit that they're not true, you just don't know why you're saying it, that's a completely different thing. You don't need to take a polygraph. I agree.
Why was I sent to a TBI clinic?
Because you reported that you had been subjected to a blast, and our military, God bless them, reacts to our soldiers when they report that kind of trauma and makes available to our fighting men and women the best possible treatment they have without asking a whole lot of questions about why.
Yes, sir.
You're all over the chart here. You say you got a Purple Heart and you don't? You said you acquired an MBA and a BSBA from Concordia College. You didn't. But here's what I go through from a clinical standpoint. What you have to do if you're trying to help somebody is you go through what's called differential diagnosis. You rule things out. Does somebody have a brain tumor that's making them act crazy? Do they have a traumatic brain injury? And then you get down to, do they have a psychological issue? Do they have a personality disorder? Are they psychotic? And to me, those things are just as legitimate as something else. And if I look at your history, I can't rule that out. There are people that have personality configurations where they don't know the difference between what's real and not real and what's right and wrong. And I'm going to ask you to grade your own papers. Sit right here and look at this. There's something in this book, and I call these evil eight because they are evil. They eat away at who you are. These are the characteristics that cause people to do things that create trouble for them in their lives. If you see people that are doing things in your life that are creating problems, it's because they have a sense of arrogant entitlement. They just think they can get away with anything they want to do. You see people that lack empathy. They have no remorse. They have no guilt. They'll tell lies, they'll do stuff. You know people like this in your life, don't you? They are irresponsible and self-destructive. And that's very important because these people, when they lie, I ask you guys, if you lie, you're amateurs. When I'm talking about these people that lie, they will lie to the point of hitting the wall, splitting their head open. They will write it down to the bottom. They will blow their entire lives up. They will go on national television and say they're a war hero when they know their unit's watching. I mean, anybody that would purposely do that, you have to think somewhere a village is missing their idiot. They thrive on drama. I threw myself on their grenade. Come on. They brag about outsmarting other people. They have a history of short-term relationships, fantasy and delusional. Grade your paper. Are we talking about you here? Is this as viable an explanation as anything?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a story or a question for me? Click the link in the description and tell me what in the world is going on.